Puffamaniacs, Ace the Kid hanging here with none other than the Puffster himself.
Your boy Big Papa Puff, and today we have with us Triple J, the Judge, Joe Justice, and Double D, Daredevil, Dwayne Doja, the magical world of TNG's wonderful comics and collectibles.
Man, I just got to say, I love that. That gave me chills. Let's get at it. What's up, Judge?
How you doing tonight? Good to see you. What's up? How's everyone doing tonight? So the reason we are all here tonight is we are going to have our very first Judge's Corner. And tonight, basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about the latest episode of Dark Side of the Ring, featuring the tragedy of Chris Benoit, in other words known as He Who Shall Not Be Named. So, all right, guys. So I've got a few different pointers I would like to throw at you, and I'll give you each some time to speak. If you start rambling on, that's when we're going to drop the mallet on you. All right, so we're going to shoot the first question right on over to Dwayne. Dwayne, what did you think of Chris Benoit as a wrestler?
So when I was watching wrestling, when I was in my young teenage years, WCW was kind of the thing that I turned to when Raw or any other WWE program that was running consecutive with WCW was on a commercial break. But I always remember one of the first matches for Nitro, if Raw's matches were weak, would be either Eddie Guerrero or Rey Mysterio or Chris Benoit or the Man of 1,000 Holds, Dean Malenko. They would always start the show with one of those matches. And I always thought it was insanely amazing wrestling. It was wrestling at its purest form, the reason why I fell in love with the sport of professional wrestling. So I always would watch if I saw Chris Benoit or Dean Malenko or Eddie Guerrero or even Rey Mysterio in a ring. That's what I would watch. As a wrestler, he was rough. He was smash mouth. He was hit you in the face and not apologize later if he gave you a biscuit. He took a receipt like a champ if he did give a biscuit. And he's just a tough son of a bitch. And for me, I got to appreciate someone who can take it the way he took it and dish it out. The flying headbutt, devastating. So as a professional wrestler, I enjoyed him.
All right. Very good. Very good. We're going to shoot the same question right on over to, let's go to Ace first and then Puff.
Uh-oh. Wrestler, I really do enjoy watching how he does perform in the ring, and then you just got to appreciate the fact how hard he pushes himself every time he gets into that ring. So it's I love the fact that I could go back and say, hey, I watched this guy, and now I'm actually starting to become what he was, and now I have to strive to push myself just like he did. So there's a big factor on that. Overall, his wrestling, like Dwayne Doja said, freaking absolute best technician that you can get in that ring, man. Like him and Dean Malenko go at it with each other. Oh man, get ready for a roller coaster ride. But he is an outstanding wrestler and hands down probably one of the best.
All right, Puff, you're up. What do you think about Chris Benoit, the wrestler?
The wrestler, for what we consider wrestling to be at its purest athletic extent, he should go down as the greatest wrestler of all time. Now, maybe from a business point of view, maybe it could be Flair or Dusty or somebody along those lines. But for what we consider wrestling to be, he really is the best of all time. There has been no man on this planet that ever has, nor will ever will, dedicate themselves so selflessly and wholeheartedly to this business that we're in. We are all part of the wrestling world. There will be no other person that will ever be that dedicated to it, ever. So he absolutely deserves to be called the best there ever's been and the most dedicated that there's ever been. What really attracted me to him as a character is how he wrestled, and he had this like Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry, make my day kind of mentality that I really drew towards. And then that kind of just ended up becoming what everybody was getting drawn to in arenas. So that's what they started to grow with. So that kind of is where wrestling started to go from the land of the giant to the world of the technician. It was different. Like, you look at wrestling from the 80s versus wrestling when Benoit and the Three Beagles all blew up. And it's night and day. Like, they revolutionized wrestling so
All right, you got 30 seconds.
Overall.
Wrap it up.
So, yeah. Love the guy. Great wrestler.
Great speech.
What's a great wrestler?
Fantastic wrestler.
What can
I
you
saw
say
a
really?
little tear. I saw a tear.
All right, guys. So I'm going to give you my input a little bit about the way I think about Chris Benoit, the wrestler. It all started back, way back in the day, Royal Rumble 2000, and I got it pulled up here. 2004, January 25th, 2004 is the day I fell in love with Chris Benoit, the wrestler. Now, I was at a real young age. Wrestling was like the coolest thing to me. And I remember watching the Royal Rumble, watching Chris Benoit start out at number 1 and making it to the very end, him and Big Show at David versus Goliath. And he yanked him out of that ring. Won. It was a storybook match. One of the greatest Royal Rumbles I've ever seen, honestly. And I've been watching every single one up until then, up until now. And then, so then fast forward a couple months, WrestleMania 20, where it all begins again. Madison Square Garden, triple threat match. Chris Benoit against Shawn Michaels against Triple H. One of the greatest matches of all time.
Instant classic.
Instant classic.
5
Instant classic. You guys are right. And going on, fast forwarding from there, like I loved Chris Benoit. I loved his tactical wrestling. Like, I was in wrestling in high school, so seeing him do some of the moves that I was doing was really cool, super relatable. Him and Kurt Angle, even Brock. I mean, any of those technical guys, I just kind of lean towards more as far as cheering for. And some of the greatest matches are anything where Benoit's going up against like Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, any of those technical wrestlers. It was like watching theater. It was like watching art. Wrestling is art in a lot of ways. So I think Chris Benoit is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. The next topic of tonight, I'm going to start by asking Puff, because I know you want to speak right now. All right, Puff, what is your opinion on the whole situation, the whole Benoit situation? And I don't mean to go into detail. I'm sure one of y'all will go into detail enough through this question alone. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Oh. Objection! Easy. Good. He went from a future Hall of Famer.
Remember, guys, that question might be a little bit vague. But we're talking about Dark Side of the Ring. What was your whole opinion on that episode of Dark Side of the Ring, the whole Benoit story? That's what this question is about.
Yeah.
Continue.
He went from being a future Hall of Famer and a contestant for greatest wrestler to ever live to the Voldemort of wrestling. Is he who shall not be named? You talk about him, he doesn't exist. And if you do talk about him, shame on you for bringing it up. And you're gonna get the weird stares, and people go, "No, get out," because
the dog pound.
just have kept it so closed for so long that it's just been this wound that stayed open, and we've just pretended that it's not there. And this kind of was like putting a Band-Aid on it. Like, this was a healing moment for a lot of people in the wrestling world, because for once we were talking about it.
It was closure.
We were accepting what it was, that he did it, but that doesn't have to be the only thing that we judge him by. It brought back the memory of woman, put woman in the thoughts of, oh yeah, she should be in the Hall of Fame. Well, why hasn't she before? Because she was doing the whole Benoit thing, and everybody got muted. You shared that name, you didn't exist. I mean, they've been forgotten just as much as he has, and that this really brought them back into the light, and it really closed everything on it. Benoit like it really needed to. Like, I feel like this was a really overdue thing.
Yeah, that is for sure. Good job. All right, Dwayne, you're next. What do you think about the whole situation, the whole entire Dark Side of the Ring episode about Chris Benoit?
So first things first, kudos to Dark Side of the Ring, because again, they told a story that needed to be told about a sport that we love. I love that they go out and they grab the stories that needed to be told or that we've never heard before in such detail, and they give it to us the way that we want to hear it and the way that we want to have it portrayed. It makes it, as a wrestling fan, it makes it so much more, it brings it tenfold, especially because I lived through the time where this happened. I watched wrestling. I saw him just the week before, and then he was dead. And I can't judge anybody for the decisions they make. That's not what I'm here for. That's not who I am. But in my opinion, any man who can do what he did to his family, especially a child, me being a father myself, I got to kind of step back and, he made his decision. He did what he did. And that can never be taken back. Like, that's permanent. I will say his wife was probably one of my favorite valets of all time. I just remember when Ric Flair would come out on Monday Nitro and he had Elizabeth on one arm and he had Woman on the other. She was always one of my favorites. And it's a shame that she doesn't get her just deserves because of the decisions
Daredevil,
that he made.
Wrap it up.
But in closing, I want to say, I don't, and this is just my opinion, I don't want to see him profit or benefit. If anything, I want to see his son either in AEW or WWE, even though they would ruin him and probably never take him back, or even accept him in the family. But I would love to see his son get his just dues in the wrestling business.
All right, good. All right, Ace, what's your opinion on the whole Dark Side of the Ring episode from last week?
You both gave brilliant sides of this Dark Side of the Ring. But keep in mind, this is only like the first episode of the many that are supposed to come on season 2. this totally blew season 1. It's like gone. It doesn't even exist anymore. But a lot of people like to carry this weight on their shoulder and can't accept the fact to get over this big hump. You know, you got to look at the guy for what he has accomplished. Don't look at him for what he did. You know, like the bad side of him. You just got to look forward to what he did, everything that he's tried to accomplish, because he fucking accomplished it. So,
Yeah.
and it didn't really also it also didn't help that his brain was 100% mush. You know, he did have warnings to not do that move, the flying headbutt. Standing on that though, just yeah, it was the whole thing was fucked up, but it really is closure for a lot of the wrestling fans. But there was a lot of things that they showed that I didn't think that they were going to show. Like pictures of him actually being hung, or pictures of Nancy.
Smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just seeing him smile in general. You never really saw that a lot.
So it's just he just didn't want. I mean, he's gotta look at it like he didn't want Nancy or his little son to suffer to go through what he was going through. Because time Eddie Guerrero was like a big brother figure to him, right? So even Eddie Guerrero was all over the place with them, and Eddie Guerrero passed away. That's where all this went downhill. The majority of it. So. I feel like there should be more though that should be told. I feel like there's things that are missing. I don't want to be the one to believe that he actually killed him, because I'm still sticking with my theory that he actually got murdered. His family got murdered.
I'm gonna cut you off there because I gotta point out is that what makes this so significant, what makes this so important on the wrestling fan side, is that it forces you to accept the fact that he did it, that it's okay. On the wrestler side, it is a monumental moment because for them, they get to open up and vent about that wound that's been opened for them personally.
All right.
I mean, today I went back and rewatched the Benoit movie, and it's still the same roller coaster emotions each time that you watch it. So take time
Good job.
to watch.
Can we also do just a shout out to the fact that they really talked about Eddie in this, and they kind of told his story too. I want to just give a quick shout out to Dark Sutherland for doing that.
Objection, you're taking my thunder. I was just about to talk about that because every single one of you were missing Eddie Guerrero. Literally 30 minutes of the whole beginning, it was all Eddie. It was like they told Eddie's dark side of the ring in the beginning of the Benoit saga. And
you had to, for how bad
it's a little creepy on how close he actually was.
Yes. And that's the one point I wanted to get at. I don't want to be a speculator or conspiracy theorist here, but I feel like maybe something else could have been going on between them a little bit. I mean, Chris Benoit really, and I mean really loved Eddie like a brother.
Oh boy.
Like so much, and to the point where it got a little odd. Like he was so torn up that the person he loved so much was gone, that he took out his wife and his son because he didn't want them at all, and he wanted Eddie, and he still wanted Eddie around. I just thought it was a little bit weird, but
and that was literally the whole first part of the Chris Benoit movie was it was all Eddie.
To touch on what you just said, Judge, if if anything, and this is one thing that I could see that would be, I mean, it feels right to think down this path, is that he was to the point where he was going to kill himself. That was a determined thing in his mind. That's what was going to happen. But as he got closer to when he was going to do it, he realized that what he feels inside after Eddie died, his wife and his son would feel when Eddie died, you know, the same way when he died, when he killed himself. So in his brain, with CTE the way he had it, the only logical explanation for him was to maybe, speculation, purely speculation here, take out his wife and son so they didn't feel what he felt for Eddie being gone.
To tell the story of Chris Benoit, first you must tell the story of Eddie Guerrero. It's like a comic book, gentlemen. One story to the next. And
The way that I look at it is you can't tell the ending of Chris Benoit's story without first telling the end of Eddie Guerrero's.
That's right.
I feel like both of their stories were so intertwined for so many years that the end of Chris Benoit's story can't be told without the telling of Eddie Guerrero's tragic end. And
Because that is the reason why Benoit came to his end.
We did get the end of Eddie Guerrero's life.
At the end of Benoit's as well. Because we told the
But
end of
I don't think it was like the full-on ending.
It
of
is.
Benoit.
And that's the thing, though. It's going to take time for people to swallow it. Including you, Ace. It's going to take time. But what this shows is that, yes, he did it. But he didn't do it because he's an evil person. He did it because his brain was completely messed up. His emotions were imbalanced, and he didn't have the
wrap it up.
the power to make it through.
All right. So, I think we all were affected a lot by this Dark Side of the Ring episode. I think it really opened up that Band-Aid that had been there for so many years, and it helped heal the wounds just a little bit. It helped me certainly understand a whole lot of things, and I think it helped a lot of other viewers who maybe heard a little bit of the story, or they heard some fake news of the story. You know, I think it really, really helped see into the life of and tragedy that is Chris Benoit. All right, so final question of the night. Is Chris Benoit a WWE Hall of Famer? Should he be in the WWE Hall of Fame? Yes or no? We're going to go straight over to Ace because I know he needs to start off hot for this question.
Absolutely, he needs to. Like I was saying in the beginning of the video, people need to get over that hump and look at everything that he accomplished and look at how dedicated he was in that ring. That's all I need to say. People need to get that chip off their shoulder, let the water go underneath the bridge, and praise both Benoit and Woman together, because I believe that they both go in. You can't just put one, because if you put one in, like let's say we put Woman in, then it's still going to bring up the Benoit. So you might as well just kill two birds with one stone. Get it all done, then it's put in the past.
That's
Benoit's
right.
in the Hall of Fame, Woman's in the Hall of Fame. Bada bing, bada boom. How you doing?
There you doing. You already know. All right. Next, we are going to go over to the Daredevil himself, Dwayne Doja.
I mean, I can answer this question pretty quick and pretty simple. I don't need to mince words or try to lean one way or another. I'll just give you my straight, honest opinion. Woman should be in the Hall of Fame, right along with Elizabeth, right along with some of the other great valets of professional wrestling, because I don't feel like they get their just due. As far as Chris Benoit, as a professional wrestler, he should be in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think he should be inducted just because of the situation that occurred. And the reason for that is we all know that Vince McMahon will never pull his spoon out of his ass enough to realize, okay, something crazy happened. This was horrible. It's unimaginable, but this dude busted his ass for how many years for my company, for the company I bought previously and the company I bought before that. I guess the way I would finish answering the question is, should he be in the Hall of Fame for being a professional wrestler? Yes. Will he be in the Hall of Fame because he is an amazing professional wrestler? No. And we all know the reasons why. I mean, China can do porn and end up in the Hall of Fame after she dies, but what Chris Benoit did, and I'm not saying that that's anything like doing porn, but in Vince McMahon's eyes, I'm sure doing porn and killing somebody is probably pretty close in the I don't want you involved in my company category. I don't see it happening.
I mean, fuck, got Pete Rose in there still.
Yeah, but what Pete Rose did.
Yeah, don't even get me started on the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame, because it is grade A. All right. Finally, actually not finally, because I'm going to be going after. I'm going to take all of your opinions into account, and I'm going to come up with the elite answer to the Hall of Fame question. But first, I need to hear from the Puffster, Big Papa Puff.
Does he belong in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely not. Without a shadow of a doubt, absolutely not. He does not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Will he ever be in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely not. Not because what he did is atrocious. Not because McMahon has a spoon up his ass. It isn't because of that. The reason why he won't be in there is because he did the worst thing you could do to Vince McMahon. He embarrassed him. The night before, they had the honor to Benoit, and they treated it just like Eddie. And so they gave this loving, sincere, wholehearted tribute to this man.
Objection. I think they went a way step above Eddie, because the show still went on for Eddie, but not for Benoit. You know, Benoit and Eddie, they were like this. So I'm gonna really hold Benoit to the highest pedestal. And I think in a way, Vince McMahon was kind of like the butthurt ex-girlfriend. And, oh my gosh, you embarrassed me in front of the whole world. Now I'm wiping your name from everything. Like, he was just very immature about it. But that's the man. That's the boss. That's how Vince is. All right, sorry, Puff. Continue.
So he won't be in the Hall of Fame because of that. Not because he isn't great, not because we can't move on from it. It's because of that and that alone. Does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? No, absolutely not. What he did was unspeakable. His name's unspeakable because of how terrible the actions that he made. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Murder is not a new thing in wrestling. There's been a lot of wrestlers in the past that have gone on to be considered greats that killed somebody in some crazy accident or mutilated somebody beyond death.
Which as you can find out in the Dark Side of the Ring season 2.
Or you can hear the tale of a wrestler who was stabbed to death in a locker room in season 1.
Yeah,
check out Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
So murder is not outside of that. So we can't say, oh, he murdered somebody, so we have to hide from him. No. He did something that is worse than murder. Murder is one thing. When you murder your wife and your son, and then you kill yourself, so you can hide from having to deal with the responsibility of doing those actions, that is worse. And we've had to look at it that way for so long that this kind of, it made you accept the fact, yes, that he did it, but the overall reasoning was because he couldn't stand to live without Eddie, and so he was taking his family to go see Eddie. And in that light, you can heal with because, it gives you a reason, but that reason is because he's terrible. So he does deserve some credit. He deserves to be known as the greatest, most dedicated technical wrestler to ever live and that will ever live. But as being as dedicated as he is to his craft, he would not want to be in the Hall of Fame because him being in the Hall of Fame would be a distraction to the overall product, and it would be a distraction from Nancy. And he wouldn't want that.
Either both goes in or none go in.
I think he would want Nancy to go in. I think Nancy deserves to go in simply because, she was a woman.
All right. Great job, gentlemen. Great job. All right. So here is my final thoughts. The judge's decision on does Chris Benoit belong in the Hall of Fame? Does Chris Benoit belong in the Hall of Fame? He certainly does not belong in the WWE Hall of Fame. And in all honesty, in my opinion, ever since they introduced the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame, it's lost so much credibility, so much, cool factor. It's like they have Snoop Dogg on a couple episodes of Raw hosted, and then Hall of Fame. Like, come on! Like, there are so many other wrestlers right now that need to be in the Hall of Fame. For example,
Well, he hasn't been retired long enough.
So Goldberg's in there, and he's still freaking wrestling.
Yeah, but it's you have to be.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. If you're in the Hall of Fame, just quit wrestling.
Get it.
That's it. If you're going to be in the Hall of Fame, that means you're done wrestling. That's the way I always thought of it as. You don't see any NFL players coming out of retirement out of the Hall of Fame to go play football.
Hold on. But you can't lie. If Stone Cold or The Rock wanted to come back and have a match, or even I bet if Shawn Michaels or any of the other, when they do retro Raw, that shit to me is enthralling. It's like, oh my gosh, look at this. I remember this. This is why I loved wrestling. But I do agree with you on the credibility of the Hall of Fame itself is not what it used to be.
Yeah, I think Chris Benoit definitely deserves to be in a Hall of Fame somewhere, whether it be just an all-around wrestling in general Hall of Fame. Yes, he definitely deserves to be in that. I think if Chris Benoit were here today, he would 100% agree with that. I think based on his actions, he would probably think he doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. He probably would be okay with his name being erased from everything, knowing after what he did. If he was here today and he had normal brains, he probably would agree with that. However, on the flip side of things, I had no idea who Woman was until I watched Dark Side of the Ring. I still don't know much about her. So does she belong in the Hall of Fame? It's a big fat no for me. Unfortunately, just because I know nothing about her. And if I don't know about you, that's probably not a good thing because I've been watching wrestling for a really long time. And there's a lot of really good managers out there that probably, in my opinion, have been better than she has. But I can't give her the fair choice because I don't know anything about her.
Shit.
Benoit, his life really is a tragedy. He dedicated his life to a sport that he almost destroyed. Like Jericho said, he literally nearly brought down professional wrestling. And he wouldn't want that. It's the complete polar opposite ending to the beginning.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, what he judged himself on and character on is how you are respected by your peers. If he was alive today, he would not have that respect. So there really isn't any way for him to live with that.
For
Right.
me, what the Dark Side of the Ring did, it gave me some closure to that story that maybe I had a piece or two of, or when I was a teenager, when it happened, I was probably too busy with my life to really let that sink in. I mean, I was aware, I seen the Raw, I seen the aftermath of when they found out what had actually happened. I saw the story on Dark Side of the Ring, and really, it's nice to hear almost all the details that are supposedly known, and that now it's time to hear about New Jack this week coming up here.
Yeah.
The second episode. And if I'm going to be frank, in ECW, when I think of ECW, the first thing that comes to my mind is hearing Ice Cube and Dr. Dre hit, and New Jack coming out to the ring and kicking the crap out of everyone. So kudos to Dark Side of the Ring. Let's go for the new episode.
Absolutely.
Chris Benoit. Okay, does Chris Benoit deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? The final verdict is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he is or he isn't. He deserves to be in a Hall of Fame somewhere. But being in the WWE Hall of Fame, it certainly does not matter one bit. It doesn't matter at all. We all know. We lived through it. We've seen it. We experienced it. We know. And as long as we know, I think that's what matters the most. We all learn. We all watched a tragedy. We seen how much good came out of such a horrible thing in the WWE as far as wellness and head problems, brain injuries. There's no more chair shots after that. I mean, the WWE really stepped up a lot after that, and it really sucks. It also sucks for the WWE because they lost a really great wrestler, and they'll never be, and they can't talk about him. And I understand the way Vince is thinking. At the end of the day, he's trying to promote role models for kids, and if you're having a murderer like that in the Hall of Fame, that is definitely not the way to get kids to like wrestling like we did. So that's the final verdict. Court is adjourned.
And on that bombshell,
I'm Ace the Kid Hagen with none other than the Puffster himself.
your boy Big Papa Puff.
And we'll catch you on the flip side.
Same Puff time, same Puff channel. We love ya. Good night.
for life.